Hello, one and all. On behalf of myself, Oates, and Shakespeare, Panda Cup, and the TO staff, welcome to the Big House 10. We are coming to you live from Huntington Place in the heart of Detroit, Michigan. Streaming live on twitch.tv/BTS Smash 3. So happy to be joined by the both of you. We are kicking off the content stream. We will be with you for the next hour and a half. I'm so happy to have Shakespeare and Oates joining me up here for Bottom of the Smash Mountain podcast. I'm Cypher. Really nice to meet everybody in the venue and on the stream. Shakespeare, I'll kick it to you.
This is kind of nice.
I'll kick it to you. You tell me what's going on in the room right now.
What's going on in the room right now? People are filing in. It is 2 p.m. and pools are about to start for both Melee and Ultimate. Doubles is already ongoing. Underway. And some people are still in their hotel rooms because they got later pools. Maybe they did a little too much last night. The classic. They're straggling in, though. And once we're all here, we're going to have an incredibly full setup here. How many entrants do we have? Like 2K, right?
Wow. 2K plus.
2K plus.
Between all of the events. And it's Melee, it's Smash Ultimate, it's Rivals, it's Splatoon 3, and more. There's so much at this event that we get to talk about today. Although I will be upfront and honest, we are definitely going to be focusing on Melee, but stay tuned for things like Tweak Podcast later on. Probably going to cover some things on the Ultimate side and so on. And Oates, I'll kick it to you. What's going on for you at the venue today?
So, everything is going on for me. This is the first time I've actually attended a big house. So
Me too!
And all of my years in participating in the Smash community across many different games, this is my first big house, and I'm excited.
Both of you?
Yes.
First, there's been 10 of these, and this is your first one.
Yeah.
Well, it's never too like you said in the zine, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, for sure.
Now is the right time to come to Big House. It is never. If you've never been before, the answer to when should I come is always the next one, every single time.
That's a brilliant way to word it. And speaking of the zine, we have a bunch of incredible vendors out there right now.
Yes.
They were setting up since yesterday. And if you're in person, if you're just kind of walking around the con, please take the time to just go out there, check out the different stuff that's on sale, that's on view, and interact with people out there because everyone has a cool way to kind of showcase the community, or at least their corner of the community.
I love that. We get to have not only something like Major Zine, which we'll be getting to, but also plenty of controller vendors out there. This is the place to go if you want to have a new controller, new shell, all kinds of amazing artwork. And there's even other vendors like chess.com is here.
Yes.
And it goes down the line. We have everything in the big house that you could ever ask for as a Smasher.
That's true.
That will not be the last time I do that.
Honestly, one of my favorite slow growth as far as tournaments goes is the inclusion of more things, right? I think I went to a Smash Con once and I was like, whoa, they have a whole arcade here, and now there's arcades kind of everywhere.
Yes,
there's an arcade
everywhere.
here, right?
Yes.
There's the arcade in the corner over there, right?
Alternate things like we have a an entire 10% of the floor is devoted to tabletop gaming. We have a chess.com booth where you can just sit down and play 5-minute games with whoever you want. There's tournaments, side tournaments abound, a 16 and under. There's so much to do here. It's always worth your money to come down. I know travel is hard for some people, depending on where you are in the country. Detroit, not the easiest airport to get to, but I promise you, if you're at home and think about coming to Big House, it has consistently been one of my favorite tournaments that I've ever come to, for all of these reasons. Plus you two and the people that are here.
Yeah, and that's a glowing review. So, I'm actually kind of excited. First day of my first big house, so I hope to make the most of it.
And so we're coming to you live on twitch.tv/BTS Smash 3. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I am Cypher. That's my tag. I've done 200 plus episodes of a Melee podcast called Bottom of the Smash Mountain. So I have to give thanks to Juggle Guy, our head TO. Shout outs to Robin for not only bringing us to 10th Big House, but also personally inviting me to do a live broadcast here today. I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity, but I'm even more thankful to have Shakespeare up with me, Oates up with me to talk about all things Melee, all things Big House. So I'll kick it to you first, Shakespeare. I just want to introduce everybody a little bit. Tell us about yourself, either how you got into Melee or how you got to be here today.
Yeah, hi, I'm Shakespeare.
Let's go!
You may have seen me on such educational films as Where Should I DI?
And Advanced Melee for
O2 is close though.
Yeah.
O2 in parenthesis close though. That's my first single.
Is this bad that the first thing I think about with you, Shakespeare, I thought about the Bobby Big Balls, the viral tweet where he's getting super angry, and then musical accompaniment. You said
that's great.
Needed more bass.
I think it was the first, as far as I'm concerned, it was one of our first as a Melee community, TikTok duet style videos.
Yeah.
Nothing ever really popped off before then. And I'm I'm just a simple man. I saw the guitar and I was like, this is awesome. And then I saw the drums. I'm like, this is awesome. And I think the title of the tweet was just simply needed bass. And here's the funniest part about that. I spent maybe about 20 minutes on that whole thing, from I want to do it, to writing it, to recording it. And that got me more attention than anything I've ever put like hours of effort into in my life. So it made me realize just how first of all, joy can come from anywhere, right?
Yeah,
it could,
exactly.
you could see it in a flash of lightning, and it could cost you nothing, and it could change your life. And the second thing is, my God, what a fickle world we live in, right? But the content was great, and shouts to Bobby for that, for the rave. I was just doing my part. I was just playing. I was just being funky. That was all I wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, I got the Anthony Fontana retweet out of nowhere, and that was like, as a musician, that was kind of not a big deal, because what does that mean at the end of the day? Not much, right?
Yeah.
Not too much. It was nice.
Yeah.
But it still was like, wow, now all of these people that didn't know me before not only know who I am, but they know I play bass.
Yeah.
20 minutes of my time.
But it reminds me of the Turn Down for Wall video, where it's just like an April Fool's joke. Axe has to tell Wizrobe, the set's not over yet, or the set is still going on. I forget which one it was, but Walt was always like, why do I have to go viral for spending 30 minutes maybe on making that video?
No, it's true. It's so true.
Yeah, and actually, I kind of wanted to call out something too. Like, you're an accomplished musician. It's not just that you play bass.
Yeah.
Like, you play at almost like the symphony level orchestra.
Oh,
like,
I mean, I'm a professional. Yeah, I'm a union card-carrying musician. I don't play in the symphony. I'm not a classical guy, but I do play in a lot of pit orchestras. I'm a theater. Surprise, surprise! I'm a theater guy, and I know a lot of you are out there. It's okay.
Let's go.
Don't worry about it. We love you all the same. There's a lot of us here.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I do play professionally for real money. It's how I make my living. So accomplished. That's a very interesting question.
Making a living off of it.
Making
though.
a living
See?
off it is definitely something that I see as an accomplishment. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not a glamorous life. I live well within my means, and I'm comfortable. But above all, I am always happy to go to work.
Awesome.
Unless it's some I did a party for like Britney's 35th outside or something, whoever Britney is.
Yeah.
And after 2 hours of them shouting to me to play Sweet Caroline, there are some times in a life, no matter how fun it may look, that even solid gold gets old. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, how about this?
Yes.
What do you think about the J-Mook viral tweet going?
Love it.
Just all guitar.
Beautiful guitar playing, like clear knowledge of how to voice things appropriately on a solo instrument, demonstrably above grade guitar level, which whenever I see someone do that, always just makes me happy, and out of the blue.
And I love that we bring talented musicians into Melee who understand, people like Lod or J-Mook, and yourself, who understand there's like a discipline to learning how to be good at music, and then there's a discipline to learning how to be good at Melee, so that's always cool.
There's a lot of similarities, right? Because it's the same thing, right? In a given situation, press the right buttons.
Yes.
How is it different? How is it different than playing music? It's nearly the same thing, except in music you're trying to agree with each other, But when you're my opponent, I have to disagree with you, right? I have to take your idea and go, that's bad. Or, nice idea, I'm going to work around it. It's a constant series of disagreements, which doesn't work in a performance level, right? But the ability to surprise is always successful in both of them, right?
Yeah. It's not me who's a super good musician, so I'll turn it over to you, Oates. Do you play any instruments?
I used to play the drums when I was a kid, and I've recently started picking up the guitar. But other than that, no, not really. But I mean, the analogy of having disagreements and agreements, especially when it comes to music and Melee, or Smash in general, not just Melee, because we have people out there that are tuning in that are maybe not Melee players. Absolutely. It's like a conversation. It's a beautiful conversation. And then I love that you also brought up surprise, because it reminds me of improv, where you're going to yes and. And if you ever get caught up in your thoughts about okay, they said this, or the fox is approaching with Nair, and I have to think about what to do next. No. You kind of have to go with what's your gut instinct and what you've rehearsed and what you've practiced. And hopefully your instincts and your intuition carries you to the end. And that's beautiful. So yeah, I appreciate the analogy.
You really nailed it on it. Thank you for fleshing that out and putting fluidity into something so Melee is music, and you're this is what he means. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Fiction about this last night. We were at Wolgi's apartment. Shout out to Wolgi if you're listening.
Shout out to
Would you guys know him?
No, I'm just saying.
You will eventually.
Wolgi deserves a big shout out.
He does. He's this diplomat
For having an
that
apartment. Yeah,
knows
shout him out.
everybody in the Smash scene. Yeah, big shout outs. And Fiction did this great thing. He's like, this is Melee. So we had this analogy of like, Melee is like going in for a handshake and like, with most people, sometimes it's just like you have to feel it out and you have to agree within a microsecond how it should work, too soft, too firm. And Fiction's like, yeah, but this is what Melee is actually like. Pop!
Well, with the lasers especially, Fiction loves lasers. Right? Let's go.
It's to go back to the surprise, right?
Yeah.
To go back to the surprise. I mean, and something like this.
Yeah.
Every page turn is its own surprise.
Yeah.
And I'm generally, it's good for effective art, like this and the slap, and then finally when you go for the handshake the third time, and how good does that feel?
A roll
Amazing.
of 3.
Right?
Roll of 3. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
storytelling. Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to actually kind of highlight because, I mean, this is stuff that I learned recently and just kind of like rehearsing and researching and thinking like, okay, I'm going to be talking on the mic with Shakespeare. I have to at least be able to comment on who this person is. And you do a lot of behind the scenes work with like tournament organization, right? Mm-hmm. Please, like, just hype yourself up.
Sure, yeah. Well, my first like real TO thing was I started like a bar tournament in Chicago, which was mad fun. There wasn't anything like that, and that's gone now because ownership and whatever.
Yeah.
But since then, I've done a lot of commentary management. That's why I'm here today. I hired everyone, negotiated, and put them on a roster.
Let's go.
Dealt with a million changes, but it's all my work is super front loaded, and that's why I can be here and just like chill with you guys.
Awesome.
Because and I've done that for Riptide, Old School Smash and Splash. I've additionally helped run tournaments like 5 Days of Melee, Net Play for Palestine, which I was a head TO for. And one of the things about what that theater really taught me is how being multidisciplinary is super helpful. And this whole scene, you two, myself, everyone backstage, the cameraman, the O2er in pools getting messed up right now.
Future me as well.
They have something to offer this community because it's so inclusive in art and in presentation, and we're just putting on a show, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has a different little piece of that, like a tiny little cog that they turn. They might not know it yet, but they'll find a place. And that's what happened to me, and I'm sure that's what happened to you guys too. Yeah. You didn't know, you just loved this game.
Yeah.
That's all you knew.
First and foremost.
And then it kind of eroded away at you until it chiseled you into like Oats or Cypher.
Yes.
Who you are now, which I read in your zine about what like a tag like signifies.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
how it's a piece of you, but it's not separate from you.
No.
But you can shed it if you need to.
The all-time great example of when you talk about tags versus your real-life persona comes from the Smash doc where Wife is talking about finding a second self. But something that you were saying was you didn't think it was as simple as that it was that there's still a part of you. Your tag, it still lives within you. It's not necessarily a second persona that you create. If you wanted to comment on that more, it was a great article, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Thanks for actually mentioning the article. So the piece that they're talking about is actually one that I had written 10 plus years ago on a trip to Australia. I attended a tournament in Australia, and I was there for the death of that scene. Like after that big tournament, basically all of the Melee players from that area, I think it was a tournament in Melbourne, but these were players from Sydney. They were kind of lamenting, they were drinking, they were going to the casino, and they were thinking like, yo, this is it. This is like our siren song. This is our last big, big event. Let's just, Oats, hear me out. Like, here are stories. And then I wrote that piece 10 years ago because, like, the theme of the issue. By the way, you can check it out at Major Zine.
At Major Zine.
It's like the latest issue that's out right now for the Big House. The theme was 10 years of community building. So I said, okay, what better thing to kind of highlight than the piece I wrote 10 plus years ago? And at the death of this community, that's when I realized at the time, and my thoughts have changed a little bit since then, but that's when I realized talking about identity, like, yes, whatever your hobby is, it doesn't necessarily have to be Smash. It could be like being a musician. It could also be, starting a podcast. It can be, hosting this event or just being a tournament organizer. Whatever you put your heart into, you're creating a persona right there. You have the building blocks in who you are as a person from your life experiences, from how, even genetics to a certain extent. But, like, this is where you make the choices to truly mold, this is the person that I want to be. And with that type of experience and that type of like agency in your own life, like that's where the beauty kind of comes up. Like that's where the self-expression happens, and we see it in games. Like we see it in Melee all the time, where like you can tell a person, like I know what a Zane Marth looks like versus like, I can't think of another Marth. I'm just going to...
Kadoran.
There you go.
San Diego Kadoran, yes. If I forgot Kadoran's name and I'm from San Diego, yo. Thank you for saving me.
You got it.
But that again, tags, this agency, this community, and how you build yourself up, that's important. And that's something that needs to be highlighted and kind of talked to. So thank you very much for the analogy again.
It feels like a little Monopoly square that you get to add like a house to, and then to like a little... Someone trying to get our attention?
No, they're just saying woo. They love you.
Woo.
They love Jake Spear.
They love Jake Spear.
I love Patty.
Shout out to Awesome Melee.
Yep, shout
It's
out.
like you put your tag in the ground, and you're like, I am Jake Spear now, right? And you kind of hide about, and you like decorate a little more, and then all of a sudden you have like a little Jake Spear house, and people can come to there, and because they know what you're about now, and they know what to add. You know, if they want something from you, if you want them to do something, to ask them, or they know, how they can help you because they've seen what you are now. It's not quite a brand. It's not that far.
No.
But it's beyond. It's an extension of yourself. And so like a house is kind of like the appropriate thing.
I agree with
You
that.
live in it a little bit, but you can leave anytime and be someone else.
Like a big house?
Like big house.
big
Yes.
house. Exactly, a big house.
Don't worry, we'll come back to that again. It's been a slow start for me when it comes to building myself up within the community because it took a lot of coaxing and years of being adjacent to Melee, watching competitive Melee a long time ago and saying, I would love to play Melee like that. I didn't even know it could be played like that. This is crazy. Watching MLG New York, PC Chris vs. Ken that long ago, watching it in 2006, I thought, I should no, I'm just too shy, I'm too young, I'm too whatever. And it took such a long time to get to the point where I finally said, I'm ready to try to do something within the Melee community now. And I would want to give shout outs to people like the Wannabes podcast or Alston Melee podcast, inspiring me to start my own. And who were,
Patty was like right there.
And Cave Lemon were literally
in front of us. Like, you better shout us out, Cypher. We're watching you.
Yes, because they know. They are a big part of how I got started with all of this.
They got Shik hanging from the rafters just waiting for you.
Yes, yes, but actually Shik is not here. Ryan's
I know.
not here.
Shouts to Ryan.
Shout outs to Ryan. I'm so it's very fortunate to be able to be in this spot now because I think about 2021 being when I started podcasting and going, how do I get into the Melee community by doing this? And it just took a couple of people like Patty coming on and saying, this is a cool thing that you're doing. I did like 3 episodes and Patty says, this is a cool thing that you're doing, and that just gave me so much empowerment, a feeling of going, I can do this and I can share this with other people. So what ended up happening in 2021, the beginning of 2021, is I said, I can just invite other people on that are not necessarily like top of the community level. And that's why I called it Bottom in the Smash Mountain, because I thought there's so many more people down here than there are at the top. At the top, it's very small. It's what we all look up to. But even everybody down here does so much for Melee. I want to just take a second to shout out Jade, Contra, Coin, and Chelsea, some of the TOs at the TO desk down there. We love our TOs. Big shout outs. So it's people like that. It's O2ers. It's the smaller content creators, if you will, or having on people like Walt, Turn Down for Walt. I will happily have on Turn Down for Walt anytime and talk about Melee, talk about how we live our lives around the game. But that's what's been so cool for me doing what I'm doing is I get to talk to people about not only how they experience Melee, but how they put that into their lives. Because for most of us, we have to treat it as a hobby. We can't treat it as a profession.
Yeah,
a professional
at least
thing.
you shouldn't.
Not advisable.
2 things just to kind of follow on that. Like I actually, so back in April or March when I first discovered your podcast, I went through chronologically. I started with the first episodes, listened to the ones with you and your brother, and listened to the ones with you and your family. And it wasn't until I got to the episode with the Alston Melee guys that I was like, yo, I actually need to take notes. like that early episode really set the tone for me. Like, this is actually kind of insightful type of stuff. I'm going to start writing down the things that Patty was kind of like an inspiration at that time for me, where I was just like, yo, this is gold.
Yes.
This is some really gold stuff. So yeah, kudos to you for actually getting great collaborators and great guests that early. And the second point doesn't really matter. I was going to talk about like the hobby stuff, but yeah, it's a wonderful hobby.
This is a great way to transition over to what we want to talk about with you in Major Zine.
Yeah.
You have not been doing it just this year. You've been doing it so much longer than I've even thought about participating in the Melee community. So just talk to us about Major Zine as a whole and what we're doing at the Big House this weekend.
Okay, so Major Zine as a whole, and what is Major doing here? Is that awesome?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you all,
I'm gonna hold this.
Oh yes.
Look
Yo.
Oh no, even better.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So Major as a project, it actually originally started. So there was a Facebook chat group between me and a bunch of other writers that are like in the Melee scene. So these are people like Fendrick Lamar, Edwin Budding, Alexander Lee, I think Quality Steve, Zane Bansali or Ipengu.
Let's go, Ipengu.
And I think Slime was in there too. And then we also had Tafo. So like it was us just talking about like how do we really start writing about Melee in like in a really meaningful way. And I think after I read this book, it's called Ad Toner. It's a great compilation of different zines from the Bay Area. I was like, yo, let's make a Smash zine. Like no one has ever done that before. We have the right community for it. Like we have artists. Like I can look out there right now and I can just see all of the artists that I've talked to that have like incredible portfolios like full of amazing stuff that might be paired well with writers that want to be like inspired or want to share a story that they've had cooking in their head for a while. So Major as a publication, as a zine, as a whatever you want to call it, has been around for 5 years. We're about to hit our 5th anniversary in December or January. So yeah, shout outs to us.
5 years.
Yeah, and like those, thank you. And like those first 4 issues were really, really important because I think it really set the tone when I was collaborating with Kasha, shout out to you, Corey, and Ipengu on like putting together a quality product. Like if you look at I have a couple of early issues at the table so you can take a look at them. But like if you look at those, like especially, you'll see that it was like a really collaborative effort. And then I took a break from the zine, I needed to step away, and then the pandemic happened and I realized that, we need to be able to connect to people again. We need to be able to give an outlet for these stories because we're not doing it in person. So what's happening to, in this part of the world that we can't, like, I can't see you in person, so
Yeah.
like, I want to connect with you. So we put out an online-only issue, and this was issue number 5, back in 2021, early 2021, and I fell in love with the process again. And I just ran with it just because Ipengu and Kasha were kind of busy, so I was like, okay, let's just do it myself then. And yeah, I mean, we're up
That's what it takes.
Yeah, we're at issue number 14 for this event. So if you go online, it's already online. Tomorrow we'll have physical copies that we'll pass out. So it's issue 14, and we're planning, hopefully, we're planning on doing an issue 15 for Genesis this year, and that'll be our 5th anniversary issue. Yeah.
That'd be so cool. So it's looking forward to other big events that we have coming up, but I don't want to get too far away from the Big House because we also need to talk about the Melee bracket, what's going to be happening. We're supposed to be able to tell well, no, not really. We are going to give our favorites for making either top 64, top 24, top 8, who's going to win this event. And it's not because we are, shout outs to Melee Stats, people who could tell you in much better terms and head-to-head history how everything's going to most likely shake out. But what's always exciting about a big tournament like this is that when a lot of the top talent shows up, I think it's all but Josh Mann and Lod and Plup, who had to back out last minute, out of the top 25 for Melee players that are here at this event, competing only for first place, not a big deal. Everybody wanting to get up there to the top. So we have to think about upsets. We have to think about how your bracket is specifically seated. Who are you going to run into that you either want to see in bracket or that you don't want to see in bracket? And I couldn't tell you how each player feels, but I'm going to tell you, we're all going to say, who are the players that we're keeping an eye on, try to highlight as many as we can, especially players that most likely won't make top 8, but maybe we can find out today and be able to correctly predict, who knows, whether or not somebody like Pipsqueak's going to make it all the way up to top 8 or something like that. That would be super cool.
I'd hope so too, just because I'm sharing a room with them. So like, if
Yes!
that's my homie for the entire weekend. Pipsqueak, let's go.
Let's go, Pipsqueak.
Bye.
The coolest thing about, or one of the coolest thing about Melee is how consistent our top 8s tend to be.
Yes, they do.
Now, there's obviously anything could happen, right? Maybe it's about time that one Ice Climbers player just like goes on a tear and finds it in losers top 8 and might win their first round. Sometimes maybe all 3 of the top tier Falcons come in, maybe just one of them. But Mango's going to be there, HBox is going to be there, Zane is going to be there, Cody is going to be there. beyond AMSA's going to be there.
Yes.
J-Mook is
J-Mook
going to be there.
This is your top 8. Like, actually, this is what's happening. And then there's like 2 wild cards. Oh, let's put Pipsqueak in there.
Okay,
let's go Pipsqueak.
Yeah, let's go
Pipsqueak.
Yeah.
And Leffen.
Oh, I
Wait,
feel
really?
so bad.
Leffen's here, right?
Leffen is here.
Yeah.
Leffen is here.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, and that's the really cool part. We're
From-
not only getting people like AMSA, we're getting people like Leffen back after not having been to events like semi-recently or
He's been doing Guilty
consistently.
Gear.
Yeah,
so much.
Guilty
I mean, just dominating.
And just dominating.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the important part.
Casually just dominating another game altogether.
Altogether.
So the important thing for somebody like Leffen, how far does Leffen go in this bracket? After the last time was June, Battle BC5, winning against Zane twice using the Sheik, looking poised and on top of everything, not just in terms of playing as Fox, but also switching right over to Sheik and making that look really good in Leffen's favor versus somebody like Zane. So that's what makes you say, if Leffen is not necessarily playing Melee throughout the summer and the early fall, but still doing competition, having the clutch gene, stamina bar high, stamina bar for being at a 3-day event in general, doing really well at places like EVO, it makes you say Leffen has a great chance to go far and to even win this event, despite the fact that he hasn't been to an event in a while for Melee specifically. That's the crazy part to me.
I think it is unlikely
Yes.
that Leffen will win the event. It is not impossible.
Not
But
impossible.
I think it is unlikely. I think between like 5th and 3rd is very, very likely for him.
Yeah.
But like the last time they played, maybe was it the last time they played? I remember at a summit, AMSA and Leffen played, and Leffen just completely destroyed AMSA, right? But that's now we're at a different AMSA. So I think there's a point where Leffen can run into somebody who has been improving in the time that he's been playing Guilty Gear, and that could be the deciding factor. Now, granted, Leffen is incredibly good.
Yes.
Plays
So
an
good.
incredibly good character who can adjust so easily to situations.
Two good characters.
Two good characters, right? One for a specific matchup that is just like more fun, less stressful, right?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because I was talking to Fiction last night, and he's starting to switch to Sheik. He's like still kind of in this phase, but
Really?
and the way he explains it is like I get to do things in a worry-free way, in the same way that Marth kind of gets to do things to Falco in a worry-free way after a certain point.
That's
like
true.
like Sheik doesn't have Sheik doesn't have the stress of like, oh no, I got grabbed. That's fine. It's a mix-up. You're not getting no guaranteed punishes there. So that's kind of the fun angle is being injected into it, but it's also very practical in the same way. So we might see this like in the same way that floaty characters went to Fox to fight HBox. Like we might be seeing that with Sheik versus Zane. Maybe it's too early to tell,
Yeah.
but we could see a renaissance of that like hardcore dual main for the sake of this one player coming up. But we'll see. Leffen started it. Fiction's following it. I don't know if that's going to progress any further, but that might be a thing coming up.
And I'm looking kind of, so to kind of speak to how we kind of approach, or at least most players kind of approach Smash, like we're doing it for fun. And if you're not having fun with your solo main, or if you're trying to like think like, okay, you know what, I think I've explored as many avenues as I possibly can here. Let's find a different way to kind of like just motivate myself, find that energy again, find that like that enjoyment, that excitement. Yeah, like dual maining seems like the logical fit there. And it just seems like a way to kind of extend your enjoyment of the game. And it's also entertaining. Like to see that kind of switch that happens mid-set, like at the very end, it's kind of like just a clutch thought, like, you know what, maybe it's time I bring out the pocket like Falco or the pocket Pikachu. I think there's been some players thinking about Pikachu for Zane, maybe.
Funky.
Yeah, but
that's
like
cap, dude. That's a myth. Crimson Blur pilled. Who would take that one?
Shout out to Blur.
Big shout out to Blur. He's here. I hired him. He's a good guy.
Oh!
What?
Shakespeare just hired Blur.
Yo, I just hired Blur, right? In fact, he's taking my spot right now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
scared.
late though.
I'm
He's
Okay,
late, though. Don't
let
worry
me
about
just
it.
tidy up a little bit. Let me just like,
Am I sitting up straight?
yeah, please. Let me just fix my posture. Okay, yeah.
There's yeah, I mean, one thing is going to be sure. Sunday is we start with top 24.
Okay.
And that is going to be the most ridiculous melee. It's like 3-hour block, top 24.
Yep.
Across 4 streams, 2 for ult, 2 for melee, which means we're probably going to get every match, or we're going to get most of the
I
matches.
hope we get all the
We're
matches
gonna get
for
most
top
of the matches.
24.
2 3-hour blocks running simultaneously should be enough to get all of them. I don't know. I am not the director. But look out for, if there is one day of Big House you should watch, it's all of them. If there's one day you should watch a Big House, it's Sunday.
Sunday for sure, because you do get a lot of matches that you would typically look at and say, oh, this is top 8 at another major. Something like Hungrybucks versus AMSA as a winner's qualifier to top 8.
It's literally 3 top 8s, like like one after the other.
Yes.
It's intense. It's thoroughly intense.
Which is why it's so hard for somebody like Leffen or another dual-maning player. If you say to yourself, I need to have 2 characters ready to go, it's not just the fact that you want to prepare for 1 or 2 other amazing, insane players for a bracket that maybe perhaps is a little bit smaller than Big House 10. It's that nearly everybody is here, so you're going to see variety of characters. It's not just maybe 1 or 2 Foxes. Oh, I might not run into them by the time top 8 comes along. No, you're pretty much guaranteed to run into a Fox, into a Sheik, into a Falcon, into a Marth. So that's the really exciting and Sheik and Amsa, sorry. Amsa literally is Yoshi personified. That you're going to have to prepare for not just a few different matchups with 2 different characters. That is going to be the big challenge. That's why it would be amazing to see how Leffen or somebody else who wants to dual main goes in terms of being able to handle. I'm not just preparing for a possible Marth matchup. I also have to make sure my Fox is good against all the other characters that I will go Fox against.
Which brings me to a point that I love in our current meta, and that is, we named our top 8 and everything. Note the characters for all of those players. The variety. is the best it's ever been when it comes to our top 8s. Honestly, I mean, maybe there was a period back in the day where mid tiers were in there. It's like 5th place Mario. That shit will never happen again. But I think now, especially Amsa's going to be coming to North American tournaments more and more and more because I believe he lives in Canada now. Did he move
Vancouver, Canada.
Full on?
Okay. Within a week of competing at Lost Tech City last weekend, Amsa was moving from Japan to Vancouver and then flew down to Texas. How insane is that?
As a Japanese player, going to Texas, first of all, is like, that must be a big, this America, hot, dry, huge sky, mountains.
Big ol' hats.
Big ol', right? Big ol', everything's bigger. Truly everything is. And I don't think that's a philosophy that, a lot of other countries take. So to see it in Texas is like, Jesus. I'm sure the biggest portion of food he ever had in his life in Texas. And it was like $5 for a plate of barbecue this big.
Yes.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So that means Amsa is going to be in all of our top 8s, for the foreseeable future at majors. Ostensibly.
Yeah, and he's motivated to actually practice and make it each time.
Yeah, and holding him back was, a $2,000 round trip ticket. That's in the past. It's so much easier.
13-hour difference
right?
most of the time on the United States. You have to think about how Amsa. I don't think Amsa's ever complained at all about the hour difference, about the traveling, and now being able to start from Vancouver. So that's going to be same time for Cali events like Main Stage or Genesis, or just 3-hour difference for places like the Big House or Shine. So for the next year, we are really happy to be able to have Amsa in North America, Vancouver especially. Shouts out. Battle BC5
Big
probably
shouts.
happening next year. Let's go.
I just love Amsa. I could talk about Amsa forever.
So how far does Amsa go? So I have the bracket for top 24 pulled up here. But I'll just ask you, Shakespeare, you are probably the biggest Amsa fan out of the three of us.
Huge Amsa fan. I mean, he's basically Mr. 5th place at this point. For a tournament like this, you can expect him to get at least 5th. He might get up to 3rd. I don't think he'll get 2nd. He has to make a big win to get 3rd. He would have to beat H-Box, which he's done before, but he didn't last time.
Right.
Or the time before that, I think.
The point is that Amsa's beaten everybody here. Amsa beat Leffen at Pound, and Amsa's beaten Zane. I think it was double down.
Has he beat Cody?
That's a good question. Because I want to say yes in the early year, but I actually don't know for sure.
Now Cody kind of has his. It was close. The last time they played, I remember it was a heartbreaker, and Amsa really fought.
No. It was at double down, and Amsa finished 2nd to IBDW. So
Bingo.
IBDW took that set. Game 5.
That was exactly it. That was exactly
right.
it. Heartbreaker.
We got it.
But
we found our way there.
Foxy's back. We say this every time about Amsa. We're like, oh, they solved it. Fox figured it out. You just drill. You just do this with Falco, and it beats. And Amsa's like, sweet, cute, even, adorable.
Back airs.
Showing you shit you've never seen before.
Neutral Bs.
Yeah, neutral Bs.
Light shielding more often.
Double jump cancel, turn around, neutral B. Weren't expecting that, were you, Fox?
Yes.
Yeah, that short hop drill, real nice when I eat you up. So I think there's going to be such a period, especially now that Amsa's always going to be in tournaments, where people will have to constantly adapt to this monster of a player.
Yeah.
This weird stuff that everyone knows they figured it out until he starts taking Foxes to FD, and the world is like, why is he doing this? And then he beats them. Unreal, that guy. So I want Amsa to win, number one. It's not going to happen. If he's going to get fourth. I'm calling it here. He's going to get fourth.
That's
Fourth.
a hard call.
Fourth.
That's a hard call, and
Hard
I like
call.
it. I like it.
Hard call. He's gonna beat H-Box by a nail bar. He's gonna go Yatta and then lose to like Mango or something. Yeah, in losers. Who H-Box also took him there, so I don't know, something like that. But I'm saying AMSA's fourth place.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a placing for AMSA. I think that in my heart of hearts, I want AMSA to win a major, just to have that number like right there next to his name. Like this is your gold medal for this event. But I also want like a J-Mook win. I also want like a San Diego Kadoran win.
Kadoran. You can make top 8. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's within his reach. Like these are the players that I feel like, if there's any better time to kind of prove yourself with the pool, with the field that we have in front of us, do it now. Like one would say like, oh, why not do it at like an easier tournament? Like no, you want to do it at an event where you have the biggest hurdles, the biggest obstacles, and the most challenges in front of you, so you can really kind of solidify yourself. Like I have trained, I have put in the time. This is me, and I'm going to do well. So yeah, I mean, I want an AMSA win, I want a J-Mook win, and I want a Kadoran win, and those are my 3. I mean, I don't placings. I mean, wherever they land, but those are the wins that I would like to see.
That's good.
For me, the 3 that I'm looking at for winning this event is Zane, J-Mook, and I would say Mango, because I would love to see a Mango back-to-back after winning Lost Tech City last week, and then being going,
and Big
why
House
am I
too.
being seated low for the Big House? Kind of a discussion.
He literally won Big House last time Big House
Yeah,
happened.
so and that was a little while ago. That was 2019.
I always
but
say last year when referring to the last Big
Yeah.
House, but that was actually 3 years ago.
that was actually, 3 years ago. truly last.
I was
truly
right
last
there
year.
with my head in my hands as Mango like SD'd
Allegedly.
or something. Yeah, allegedly.
Do you mind
Allegedly last year.
Do y'all mind if I interrupt for a
Yes,
quick
of
second?
course.
So, like, I don't know if the audience at home can see this, but one of the coolest things that immediately caught my eye when I walked in through those doors, we see the history of this event, like in the ceiling,
In the rafters.
in the rafters, in the ceiling.
It's like a stadium for basketball. I come from the Philly area, Lancaster, but Philly, I always tell people I'm from Philly when they look at me weird. So at the Wells Fargo Center, they have all the 76ers championship rafters, or at Lincoln Financial Field for the Eagles, all the championships.
Look at that.
But up there, you have Armada, Melee Champion 2015. Shouts out to Armada. There's a suspicious amount of Hungrybox and Mangoes up here as well. Let's go,
they're
Mango. Let's go,
champions.
Hungrybox.
But can we call out that 2011 win right there in the very far back corner?
Love it!
Yes.
Let's go.
Love
wait,
it.
wait,
Won
wait.
the
Look,
very.
there we go.
Love
Yep.
it. Yeah, sorry to leave you hanging. No, that's super worthy.
Yeah,
Shouts to
Lovitch
man.
He won the very first Big House Melee, so that's an incredible kind of like that's your mark on history there.
One of my first fever dreams as far as commentary ideals for Big House was for this year, since it's the 10th, since it's all about the history. It's a big retrospective kind of event going on here. Is to have every champion of Big House have one commentary block throughout the weekend.
That'd be awesome.
That would be so cool.
But it's hard to get Armada over here, and Mewtwo King is not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I should look at you specifically for this weekend. What happened?
What? I don't know. I don't know.
Nobody checks their
I
DMs
wish.
anymore.
If I had infinite dollars, I would do that. I would make that a reality.
Yeah.
And they would just get one block each, just to say. And at the very end, they would. And the rule would be their co-commentator has to reference the fact that they won Big House.
Wait, what if you could get 2 winners, 2 champions?
together?
Yes, to do it together. Yes.
Now we're talking. Now that's theater.
I would put Hungrybox and Armada on the same block. Frame 1. I would do that so fast.
Mango. Wait, did you say Mango H-Box or Armada H-Box? Either
No,
way.
I would say Armada H-Box because Mango would just be like, I don't know why Adam's here. Like that, he would have that kind of attitude, and Hungrybox the whole time would be like, Armada, you could come back. It would be so cool. It'd be so hype. And Armada would go, why did I show up?
and then he would look at the Venmo payment I gave him for $7,000, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds better."
But you also have to say we have a Super Mario 64 setup in the back. We'll let you play down that one.
all you can, right? 70-star races.
Yeah.
You and me, buddy.
Top
If you-
20 in
if
the
you can
world
stream
for
it.
70 stars. Shouts out to Armada.
Shouts to Armada, dude. That grind.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be our Armada and decide to just be good at physics and then just be like a rocket scientist in 5 years' time, or anything. I want to be a chef and then I'm running a Michelin star restaurant.
But you're so close with music. Why don't you just do that?
Oh, that's a
Oh.
great question. Actually, Fantastic question, and I think a lot of it has to do with my comfort in it, and like it's literally the boat I sit on, and I don't want to rock it too much.
Oh, okay,
you know what I
gotcha,
mean?
gotcha.
And I'm constantly like adding things to the boat, like gear and like more resume things, and outfitting my chair a little bit, making things a little nicer. And eventually, I'm gonna have like the yacht that Armada gets in half the time I do, but at my own pace. Like, this is one of my favorite quotes. Shout outs to Ristic Studies, who is a MTG
amazing channel on
amazing
YouTube.
channel.
Yeah, it's so
and
good.
At the end of one of his videos, the old Kamigawa video, he says something like, "The universe is an old place. It rewards those who take time to grow."
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a beautiful quote.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, I'm glad you shout out that channel. So we're going to geek out about this after this.
100%. 100%. Are you dominaria draft real quick? Are you doing the Dominaria draft?
No.
I'm
rats. Sorry.
You got a booth to run, right?
Let me take a second.
Yeah.
Let me take a second to talk about Jmook,
Yes,
because I also
please.
want Jmook to win this event. And the reason why is because 2022 has been the year of the Sheik, but it hasn't been the year of the Sheik in the sense that none of them have won a major like this as of now. And the really cool thing about Jmook, after spending years, I don't even mean years, playing at IBDW's first tournament and beating IBDW at IBDW's first tournament at an upstate New York local, Jmook's been playing the game for a really long time. Came onto the scene earlier this year at Genesis 8 and placing second. And it makes you go, well, how much of that is smokescreen? How much of that is real? But people who knew about Jmook before, who watched it, you knew that it was real even off the bat. And then coming back to Summit, placing, I think it was at least top 5, and then top 5 regularly at all the other events that Jmook's been going to. Gommel, Battle of BC.
Great performance at Gommel.
Yes, and at Wave Dash in a heartbreaker Game 10 set versus Hungrybox. But that's the whole thing, right? That Jmook has been this close, literally one game away. Maybe like one, it was last stock in Game 10.
Yeah, it literally was like
I'm remembering
the
now.
heartbreaker of heartbreakers.
So is this the weekend that Jmook is able to do it? And the really tricky thing, shout outs to singles happening over here, by the way.
Singles hype.
Let's go singles. So I'm thinking about how Jmook has to go through a lot of these players in order to win, obviously, because that's the path for every top player once you get down to top 8.
Yeah.
So if Jmook is going to win this event, the path there goes through people like IBDW, Hungrybox, especially Hungrybox, who I should say, the head-to-head record is something like 1-7 in Hungrybox's favor, something to that effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that means that, yes, Jmook has already figured out the formula in some way, but in the same way that Puffs adapt to all the foxes that come to them, and how Falcons and Mars have to continually adapt to each other, matchup to matchup, it is true across the entire board. Jmook has to figure out a way to continue to adapt to whatever Hungrybox is doing on the day.
Yes.
And if Jmook's going to win this event, it most likely goes through Hungrybox either in winners or in losers. And so that's why it's going to be so tough, because you have to go up against players who are capable of beating you, and then possibly your Achilles heel, if you want to say that about Hungrybox. And then who did I say last? Oh, yes, Zane. We have hardly talked about Zane. Shout out to Zane.
Yeah.
He does all the talking himself, man. He goes up there and just tells you with his gameplay exactly what's going on here.
Yes.
And he has for the past 3 years, right? 4 years.
We've been waiting for the true reign of Zane this entire year, and after starting off strong with Genesis 8 and Pound back-to-back weekends, winning from winner's side, making it look easy versus against the entire field that he played at both tournaments, it didn't come together after that at all the Summer of Smash events that we've gone through so far. It wasn't until Shine where we started to see a resurgence of Zane in bracket once again. So the question is, for the Big House 10, where there's going to be a variety of matchups to prepare for, is Zane going to be ready? And I say the answer is yes,
100%.
because Zane works harder than anybody else, or other top Melee players. You work hard too. Zane works harder than anybody else. Zane is ready for every matchup this weekend, I guarantee you, because Zane is looking at this event when it gets announced, because we can't forget what happened at Big House 9. And I know that Zane not only wants to win this event for himself, but he wants to win for the Big House 9. He wants to make the Big House 10 his tournament. And that's why I'm really excited to pick Zane as the winner, as my official pick for the winner of this tournament, but also because he's just going to, I really want to see that dominance emerge, and for a true number 1 player to emerge for the end of the year.
How about another face on that bracket?
Another face on the rafters.
Yeah,
Yes.
one that isn't Mango, one that isn't H-Fox, maybe?
Yeah,
So
that's for once.
That's
or
what I
Lovitch.
want to see.
Or
Way
Lovitch.
back.
Or Mewtwo King or Armada.
Mewtwo King or Armada, right.
Shout outs to Mewtwo King and Armada.
The gods.
And also
behold them.
Shout outs to the other games that are featured up there, because I know we're talking about Melee quite a bit, but I do want to say like Wii U has a couple banners up there. Ultimate has a couple banners up there. So they are here as well. So
100%.
Shout out to the other guys.
So we got
been
stuff.
more Melee Big House events.
Yeah.
And so their faces have been up there. It's just math.
It's just math.
And we got stuff that we're going to continue to talk about. We'll talk about a little bit more bracket. And
it's
we're
break time?
also, yes,
Woo.
indeed.
Ooh. Wow, it's
we
going
are going to be
fast.
going to break, but stick around because we have a game for chat. And sure, the audience here as well, if anybody wants to raise their hand. But we're going to be right back after these ads, so please stick around. We'll be back with you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the stream, twitch.tv/BTS Smash 3. I was almost there, almost messed that up. Hey, welcome back. I want to give a couple of shout-outs before we get to this game that we're going to be playing with you, Chad. Shout-outs to 717 Melee, my region. Shout-outs to my family, my lovely wife, Jen, my kids, Ellie and Ezra. Thank you so much for tuning in. I assumed you better have tuned in. Okay, so we are going to talk about a little bit of Big House history, and we're going to put it into the form of a trivia game for all of you watching from home. So get ready to participate in Twitch chat. Here's the thing. SFAT has been to so many of these Big House events, but how many top 8s for the Big House historically has SFAT appeared in? And so here's what I put it to you, chat. I'm going to ask you to pick either over this amount of top 8 appearances for all Big Houses or under top 8 appearances for the Big House. So the number that you have to pick, over or under, is 3. SFAT top 8 appearances at previous Big House tournaments. The over-under is 3. So is it over or is it under? 60 seconds.
Ooh. So
60 seconds.
SFAT, incredible traveler. We know.
Well-versed.
Yes, incredible traveler. I actually know that he was here for I think the first 2 Big Houses as well. So something to consider maybe on your over-under estimates.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're nearing on the 6-second mark, but I think this stat that we're looking at here, you could probably say the same about SFAT for most majors. Like if you think about the
Yes.
history of majors,
My
this
gosh.
seems like a super accurate number for almost all of them.
For Genesis, for Shine.
Melee stats
It doesn't
is
matter.
dumping on me right now, I'm sure. But this is feel. There's a lot of feel in this industry and game, and that would be. I think that would be close. Chroma, if you're watching, I don't know if you are, but feel free to. He's everywhere. Chroma's always watching.
What did chat say? For
Always watching stream.
Over. Oh, it's not yet. It's not done yet.
Oh, the chat
still
poll is
have,
still ongoing.
A couple seconds.
Couple seconds to put it in. Last minute, last second. Shoutouts to the mobile viewers, though. You have to make up your mind quickly. There's more of a natural built-in delay when you're watching on mobile.
I hadn't thought about that.
So
All right, that's time.
Okay, that's time. So the number was over under 3. SFAT has made a top 8 appearance in the Melee bracket of previous Big House events 4 times. So the correct answer, over. What was the answer for chat? Did chat win?
Over.
Chat won! All right,
Congratulations
1 for
to the
1.
chat.
1 for 1.
All
we
right.
got 2 more players here for you, so you get another chance if you guessed wrong. Or if you guessed right, you could go 3 for 3 still.
The second player, and I believe, 2-time Big House champion?
2-time.
Hungrybox. Over under. How many top 8s at Big House has he seen? And the number is 8. Over 8 or under 8? Now that's an impressive number if it's over.
8?
It's an impressive number if it's under, too.
Because there's only been 9 of them. So, that's also, again, because Hungrybox is all over top 8s for any major tournament series that you can think of. It's incredible to think about how since 2000, I want to say 2007 or so is when Hungrybox first started competing, just how much history he has within the game. And I know that for his stream, a lot of the the viewers that are on Hungrybox's stream when they're watching him play Ultimate might not have known about Hungrybox for very long. But then you just get to be exposed to this. If you're seeing Hungrybox at Melee for... Did we talk about Hungrybox at all, by the way, for the bracket?
No, we did not. No, but we can
Wow.
definitely...
We
Yeah.
counted out a 2-time Big House champion by not talking about him at all.
we didn't
Well,
really
we're
talk
talking about it now. He's playing the best he ever has. I'm going to say that right now. The best
Yeah.
he's ever played, he's playing right now.
And we can also acknowledge Mango too. I feel like we might have skimmed over Mango as
Mango a
well.
little
So yeah,
bit, yeah.
we can definitely come back and talk about these incredible titans of the game.
Yeah, we got some recap. But is our timer over right now? What do we got?
I forgot to press it for
Oh,
mine.
that's okay.
So that's why I was...
Oh no, we still got about 10 seconds. So last
Okay.
chance. Over one more time. HBox top 8 appearances Big House. Over under 8. More or less than 8. And we're at time. Everyone says, or sorry, 8 votes for under, 2 votes for over, and it's under. He actually has made 7
Yes.
top 8 appearances at Big House. Still an impressive number, like ridiculous.
Yes, and something that if you watch the metagame documentary, one of the craziest surprises of the Big House 4, and who knows if we'll see something like this at this tournament, is that Hungrybox missed out on top 8 at the Big House 4. Otherwise, it would be 8 top 8 appearances. All right, Oates, we got you for Leffen. How many top 8 appearances there?
Okay, so for Leffen, is he over, under, and the number we're looking at right now is 6. So has Leffen made top 8 at the Big House over or under 6 times? And timer starts
now. Leffen, another, and you know what? We have been giving Leffen plenty of love. We're happy to see Leffen back at the Big House, back at a Melee bracket in general. Hoping to see more of Leffen actually in the coming weeks here. We got big events coming up like the Ludwig Invitational, and you know, also Summit, Smash Summit 14 coming up.
It's a main stage at the end of the year.
Main stage, and of course the Panda Cup final and Smash World Tour final.
And then Genesis.
All kinds of events.
Jesus Christ. When did we get so active? There has been a major every weekend since May.
It's blown up. It's blown
actually insane. Everyone trying to get out of the COVID funk, man. They're just my turn now, and now that like we're feeling safer and everything. It's we're making up for lost time is what it feels like.
Yes, and what I will say is that majority of these tournaments, very well run tournaments. I really appreciate the care and love that. I mean, we're not wearing masks up here at the table, but wearing masks in the venue, proof of vaccination card required for being inside here, continuing to try to be as safe as possible, as welcoming as possible as well. Cool to see all kinds of different people here celebrating Ultimate Melee. Did we have the chat run out for over-under?
So, how many top 8s has Leffen made at Big House? Survey says under 7 votes, over 2 votes.
So
chat is on top of it. What?
Yeah, the answer is actually 4. Leffen has made top 8 at Big House 4 times total.
Need to add to that total this weekend. If
I think we're going to see 5. Look, disregarding some wild upset that none of us could see coming. Leffen will make this.
Thank you for your participation, chat. We have a little bit more time here between now and the next 25 or so minutes to talk about anything that we didn't get to earlier that we want to get to now. And I'll start with you, Oates. What's coming to mind for you as it comes to Big House, bracket, community, major zine? I think I gave you a lot.
Yeah, you did. It was kind of overwhelming. I do want to, actually set aside time to talk about HBox because I feel like that is a huge, to run the bottom of Smash Mountain podcast. Like,
yes.
He is a huge mountain for any player at this tournament to climb if they want to make it to the top. So I'm not too familiar with his recent tournament results, but I would imagine that, just from Wave Dash, which was the last major that I attended, I remember him just being a huge hurdle for J-Mook. And we were talking about that earlier, saying it went to game 10 of the second set of or it went to game 10.
Yeah, game 10 exactly, because it was game one being Hungrybox resets bracket, and then
when I see Hungrybox's name in the bracket, I think stopgap for players like Amsa, who hasn't had a really strong record against HBox. I see stopgaps for players like J-Mook. I see stopgaps for players like Axe. And I think the list goes on as well for a bunch of other players that just they see HBox, he's practically like a bracket demon.
Yes, absolutely. It is not even just specific characters. If you are almost any Fox in the world, you're going to be nervous as all get out going up against Hungrybox. There's a few Foxes that have every right to be confident versus Hungrybox. That might be just literally IBDW and Leffen. That might be it.
Did you see Mango?
Of course I'm forgetting Mango.
It happened a week ago.
Lost Tech City.
Lost Tech City.
What a 3-0.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Dominating completely in his head almost the whole time. It was kind of scary. It was a different kind of scary.
It's always scary to see either Mango having a 3-0 up against Hungrybox or vice versa. It feels like I finally figured you out, my bitter old rival, playing against each other for 10+ years in Melee brackets. But then they always manage to switch things around. That's what's so fun about their rivalry in particular. And we do want to talk about Mango a little bit because what are the chances of Mango taking this event versus other players like Zane or Leffen or IBDW or Hungrybox when it comes to the top-level talent? How far does Mango go before potentially going into Buster mode? Because that Mango exists in this realm as well. Will we see that this weekend?
sorry, were you done?
Yes, I was done.
There's an interesting double standard when it comes to Mango's gameplay, right?
Yes.
Because Mango 3-0's someone. Mango gets 3-0'd.
Yeah.
It happens, happens. Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah, Mango's bad day. Bad day for Mango, right? But when Mango it's so just frighteningly electric, and I think it's like most people don't want to see Mango lose, but I think the fact that he lost overshadows the fact how hard it is to beat Mango.
Yes.
How hard and on a given moment he could have that spark. He's like, of these players we were talking about, I think he might be, at least like if we're talking historically over the past 2 years, inconsistent.
Volatile.
I hate to say that. Volatile, right?
Yes.
Chemical reaction kind of
Yes.
player. If
Cesium.
if it's the right place and the right time, he'll explode. If it's not, he'll just fall flat. And it just depends. Like, how's he feeling that day? Like, he's a very feel-based player. I feel like if his pH is like perfect, and it's Mother's Day or something, or if he's like on that good buzz of like 2 Millers and a handshake, like I don't know what makes him tick, but when he ticks, he talks.
So
it's absurd, yeah.
To kind of, I guess, piggyback off of you talking about pH, like
Yes.
what? Like, what's the neutral number for pH? Is it 7?
It's 0.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 7. Yeah.
Yeah,
7,
and
7.
what seed does Mango have?
Oh!
So, that's...
Yo, science!
I'm just saying,
Bro.
like, it may just be his tournament just based off that analogy
Oh
alone.
my God,
Just
that's
that alone.
legit. That's legit.
Wasn't Mango making a bunch of things about 7 in general on a tweet this week, being like,
oh my
7's
God,
my number?
Yeah.
The AMSA comment, like, that was just hilarious. Like, 7's a lucky number, but like 7 is lucky as Joey. Like, that just
Right.
cracked.
Or
I read that.
the amount of points the Eagles scored this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I think they scored 11 actually.
Melee
better-
Stats
it better
is
be.
Okay, it was
shaking
close.
their
though.
head right now.
Yeah,
They're just
it's never enough for Mango. It's really never enough.
Yeah, kind of going back to your question for me about like what else we're going to fill up this time with, just to kind of talk about it a little bit, community building. So I do want to kind of like talk about how this tournament, the Big House, if you go back to the earlier streams, the earlier VODs, you'll notice that it started off as like a very meager tournament. It was like a small little thing that was leading up to other events that year, and in very little time, over the course of maybe 3 or 4 years, it exploded to being like one of these super majors that you kind of have to attend. So, I mean, I think there's a lesson there for like just, sticking to it if you're a tournament organizer out there and you want to be able to say like, you know what, one day I can see myself kind of running a Big House. Yeah, it's totally possible. You just got to kind of stick to it. And, just like include other people, invite people to help you out, and just really build from there.
Put down $200,000 for a venue,
Get a
maybe.
loan.
Oh,
Yeah.
go in the red, just completely, yeah. But, I mean, eventually, you'll get to that point.
You'll get to that. It's a very thankless job, right?
Yes.
TOing, but it really says something when it is a thankless job, will always be a thankless job, and yet you make it a point to be known for that exceptional TO service.
Ooh.
That net puts you in the red every time. Maybe you go even, and that's a good day, right? Then you get to take your staff out for a meal at Denny's or something. But to not ever let that get you down, to know that you're doing the good work and that being enough, to not only keep doing it but do it better every year.
Yeah.
See, that's why Big House. That's why we're at Big House 10. That's why Rob Harn, Juggle Guy, shout out to Juggle Guy.
Shout outs.
Thanks for hiring me.
Thanks for paying for
Thanks for paying me, baby. To do that without any like serious acknowledgement. Like, of course, people say thank you, Juggle Guy, and everything, but
Yeah.
the work never meets the reward.
Yes.
And to keep doing that is like that's the real shit right there. That's sorry. Can I swear? I don't know. But that's like that's the real. That's what makes us real.
The real
sauce.
sauce.
That's it, right? And Rob keeps doing it
Yeah.
every year till we're at 10.
And we can extend that to like the 0 tours,
Mm.
because like over time, I mean, sure, you're going to be going to your first couple of tournaments, especially if it's like a big one like this.
Yes.
You're more than likely going to go 0-2. It's not because you're bad or anything. It's just because you just probably don't have the experience. You might get nervous. It just might be a bad day. You didn't get enough sleep. All these kind of variables may affect your performance in tournament, but that's okay. Like, as long as you're doing the work of just having fun, really, because it's a fun game, enjoying yourself, and just going out, meeting people, and really kind of like building up that network of practice partners, and just kind of like really just living living Melee or living Ultimate or living whatever game kind of just like, suits your fancy, like you'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't have to be tomorrow. It doesn't have to be like, not everyone's a Mango that's going to like be like this prodigy that's going to do it in a year. Some people might be more like J-Mook, 6 years. Or like it might take a much, much longer time, but you'll get there and you'll still have fun every step of the way.
Everyone has the capacity to have their own big house. Not literally like this tournament in a convention center that I run, but it's this thing that I made.
Yeah.
And me and a team maybe, usually with a team, right?
Yeah.
And through our love for it, we consistently made it into something that is now a feature, like this pod. Like, look where we are right now.
Yes.
Think of your first episode and think of where we are right now and how maybe if the Alston boys never told you how, good job.
That's true.
Maybe that wouldn't have led anywhere. I also have a third. You both had stories of like, oh, when I saw Austin Melee, that inspired me. When I saw Austin Melee, that inspired me. I also have an Austin Melee story.
I want to hear that.
This is at the prequel to Double Down. This was what's it
Royal
called?
Flush.
Royal Flush, yeah.
Jack Zilla and I got 2 weeks before said, hey, do you want to do Royal Flush? We say, great. So we hop in our car, we drive down, and we do our one block, and then these two guys we've never seen before. One guy has the tag that sounds like a gun cocking. That's Shik Shik, the mighty Shik Shik. Shik Shik. And the other is Patty. And they go up to us, and maybe they're memeing, maybe they're being real, maybe it's a little bit of both, and they gush. They gush. They say, we love you guys. This is whenever we're doing a tournament, you're going to be on it. And Jack and I still tell that story to this day. And all it takes was that little, like, nudge. Like, am I doing this right? And then just a hand to place on your back and just say, yes, child. And then they leave you alone, and then they let you do your thing. And then, 5 years later, you're on the main stage of Big House, right? Like, all you need is one little hero. And this is something I think about in commentary. That's why I put people up there. All it takes is someone to look at someone like Homemade Waffles and go, wow, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then you'll just do it. And everyone has their own little hero. And I don't know who it is for you guys, and everyone has their own, but a tether that at the top of the mountain to the person at the bottom. There's a hero that throws on a rope and is like, here, take this. And they don't even know who you are. But you grab that rope and you slowly get tugged up little by little.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the point was, but I think it's just generally
landed.
Community. Yeah.
Yes, Blur's boss.
Blur's boss.
Shakespeare.
That's right.
Laying down some truth. Okay.
Where do you think you learned all of that community building stuff? Me, baby. That is so not true. That's not even close to true. Shouts to Blur.
Shout-outs to Belay. Shout-outs to the Ice Climbers. Shout-outs to just climbing mountains. That's all good.
All that stuff. Metaphors. Metaphors.
Houses. Oh, so what do you got for what's something else that you think is really crucial to saying I want to build a space of community for the game here locally, but also like how do you also participate on the grander scale? Like what's your favorite way to do that?
Oh my gosh, that's a huge question. So I would think like that's a massive question because like I do think that focusing your attention at a smaller scale is possibly the most sustainable way to not just like find like consistent enjoyment, but also build stronger connections. So like there is something to be said about like being in your local scene, being super involved, having the same like familiar faces that you can see, that can like joke around with you, tell you a story or something, and those are the people that are really kind of like either motivate you, push you, or just say what, that probably didn't work. We can probably do something else, and yeah. So if as far as like for community building, any piece of advice I probably I don't know if I have any, but I just said like just start small. Just start small and just find your group, find your people that are just really going to be in your corner, and those are the people that are going to push you to do a big house or to like scale out to like I'm sure you have your small little group that like told you, hey, yeah, totally to have your pod on like the big house stage, right?
Oh well, they were like, yes, this is super cool, but it was really just Juggle Guy, and I had to Juggle Guy.
That's a really big friend, yeah.
Yes, I had Juggle Guy onto the podcast. We had a great conversation, and it just I thought this is great. I always loved being able to talk to TOs. Talking to the TO who is the head tournament organizer for the big house is an honor to me, and so I get to have that conversation. I think this is probably going to be it then. I'll see Juggle Guy at a big house someday, and this is all really cool. But then I get a message, hey, do you want to do this? That's the part where I go, the work that I've done, okay, my hobbying hardcore
time
stuff,
effort, money.
Yes, the effort that I've put into doing staying in my own lane. I don't try to like push out super hard all that often, other than the self-promoting tweets, the thing that or the whatever.
Yeah.
I don't try to think of myself too hard as like I'm a brand or I have to do this, I have to do that. I just go, as long as I have people who want to talk to me about Melee, then I'll just record them. I'll put those conversations out, and whoever wants to partake will join the ride. That's why something like this is a privilege, because it's not because I necessarily said I want to go do that. I'll start there.
You're right.
Yeah.
I started off with just like you were saying, it's that you want to start small. You want to start within your grasp that's already there. And I thought that's a perfect angle for me anyway, because I knew that I didn't really know a whole lot of people in Melee other than just by name. Nobody knew me. So getting introduced, I thought podcasting was the way to do it. I got introduced to people like JD and Wasabi for Wannabe's podcast, and then for Patty and Cave Lemon and Shik and Ted Green. All four of them came onto my podcast individually. Alston gave me so much love. They all temporarily adopted me. I think it would have been. I'm going up to Massachusetts someday. Let's put it that way.
I love this. Start small.
Yeah.
And allow me to amend that. Let me and that a little bit.
Yes, please. Improv is encouraged.
Start small, but keep a wide gate.
Ooh.
Right?
I like that.
Because if you start small and think small, you're unlikely to really go anywhere. But if you start small, first of all, knowing that you know nothing.
Yes.
And understanding that anyone here has the capacity to help you improve.
Yeah.
If you can't shut yourself off by thinking small. You have to think. You have to focus small, but understand that there is so much more out there. Not only for what you're working on right now, but maybe another calling will take you. It's like, oh, I kind of suck as a player. I'm going to go commentate. And that's something you could do. Or it's like, oh, I like TOing too, and I like being in Discords and looking at Excel sheets all day. I kind of do. I never thought I would, but I kind of like that now.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between a brand. I love this idea of this house. We keep talking about it is the big house. You don't invite the community over to your brand, right? Mm-hmm. You invite them over to your house. So there's a difference in Cypher, the BSM Pod. And this is going back to the very beginning of our podcast. Cypher, the BSM podcast starter, is Cypher the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Cypher the father.
Mm-hmm.
All of these people exist within your home.
Yes.
But there's a separate work thing that's only kind of you have to, because there's business and you don't want business to muck up so you kind of keep that separate. But the core of who you are, what you represent, is always being decorated and built upon. Keep a wide gate. Maybe someone has this beautiful picture in their house and you're like, oh, I like that. I'm going to put that in my house too. And you never would have known unless you actually met the person. And you won't do that until you put yourself out there. So, and some people are shy and some people it's hard, but I promise you, go up to anybody, introduce yourself, don't be a butthole, and it will amaze you, like it constantly amazes me, the depth of humanity we're dealing with here. It's so much more than a video game. It's actually insulting to say that we're here for a video game.
Yeah, I agree.
We're here for each other,
Yeah.
and that's really the end of the story. So meet people, make friends. That's how you get job. That's how you get work. Meet people and make them feel good. They will hire you. I guarantee it.
Go to house.
Go to house.
Yes.
Go to house. Big house. Any tournament. It's someone's house. No matter what tournament it is someone's house.
I love that you just encourage breaking and entering. But you
Pay for the venue fee. Wait in line for a badge. Get checked by security, and then go into the house.
just unleash your inner link.
Yes. Breaking.
So production.
Wrap up.
Yeah, they're like, yeah. 7,000 times. Sorry, Flashburn.
We have to get to an ad break, because what we have coming up next are the Rees with Scar and Toph, who will also be not only talking about all things Big House and this weekend, but continuing to play against people who have gone in to try to beat Scar, beat Toph. So you should definitely stick around for that. Got Smash Showdown. We have the Tweak Talks podcast, and then we wrap it up tonight with Melee and Air. So please stick around for the rest of the day on twitch.tv/BTS Smash 3. Thank you so much for joining us for BSM Pod. I'm Cypher. This is Jake Spear, Blur's boss, and it's Major Zine. Thank you for joining us.